The guy moved in late last Saturday night. I know, because I woke up near midnight to him ramming his U-Haul into the dumpster outside my bedroom. From my second-story window, I watched as he stepped out to inspect the damage. He was tall, almost as tall as the U-Haul, and when he put his hand on his hip, the gap between his arm and chest must have been big enough to fit a medicine ball. I considered going out to help him, but I really didn't want to open that can of worms. I went back to bed, reassuring myself that he'd probably appreciate my pretending I hadn't seen anything. There was a knock at my door early the next morning, and you can't imagine my surprise when I looked through the peephole to see that same man. Well, from the chest down. I only knew it was the same guy because I recognized the white button down. What the hell was he doing at my door at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning? Did he see me watching him? Was he mad that I hadn't come out to help? I almost didn't answer, but I knew I'd have to face him eventually. I prepared an excuse before opening the door. He stepped back and released a wide, toothless smile. He looked sick. His skin was gray and his lips were black. He extended his hand and said, "Let's hang out." No emotion, just the bare words, like Google Translate except high-pitched and excited, a happy cartoon character. As a 6-foot-tall man, I craned my neck to look up at him. As I met his gaze, something came over me. With a strange pleasure of familiarity, like I was back at my parents' house and my mom was baking cookies. I felt the urge to say yes. Simultaneously, I could appreciate the oddness. I didn't know this guy, even if part of me did, somehow. I fought with myself, figuratively stepping in and out of the door as his smile never relented. "Not right now, Mikey," I said. I hesitated, then closed and locked the door. It wasn't until I was back in bed that I realized, how the hell did I know his name? But the memory faded like a dream. At first, I was certain his name was Mikey, but by the time I fell asleep, I was sure that I'd just thrown a random name out. Did I even know a Mikey? I woke up a few hours later and spent the day playing video games and watching Friends. I felt uneasy, but I've always had a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to Sundays. This weird feeling that it's going to be the last good day of my life, like the next day, is the end of all happiness and the start of eternal torture. Maybe I just hate my job more than most people. Around 5:30 a.m. Monday morning, there was another knock. "You gotta be fucking kidding me." "Seriously, dude?" I said as I opened the door. He held both hands out, palms up, as if presenting treasure. Atop them was the most beautiful pastry I've ever seen. It was fluffy like a cloud, but browned and crispy. It was drizzled with chocolate, peanut butter, and caramel. I reached for it and was bombarded with memories as I took the beauty into my hand. I was at Mikey's house. I was sitting at a wooden kitchen table as he frosted a beautiful cupcake, decorated to look like a rose. My mouth watered as he delivered it to me like a present. I sunk my teeth into it and sighed with relief. He was my best friend. I'd known him since childhood. I wanted to give him a hug. But at the same time, my heart was rising in my throat, threatening to choke me as I had the feeling of people watching me from every angle. "Let's hang out," Mikey said, reaching for me. I took a step forward, the two sides of my brain fighting for control, and slammed the door shut. Looking down at my hands, I saw 2 pieces of bread with half a dozen crude slabs of peanut butter and jelly. Some on top of the sandwich, some underneath, and some on each side. It was like it was made by someone who didn't know what a sandwich was. I dropped it on the floor. At work, I couldn't keep my mind off him. As I sat at my desk, vaguely trying to edit the introduction to some algebra textbook, I was sure that I had never seen him before. But I had the memories of memories, like once, in a dream within a dream from a different life centuries ago, we had been best friends. I fought my way through the day. I told myself I wasn't going to answer the door for him ever again. If I saw him, I'd run away. Under no circumstances would I look at him, talk to him, or touch him. I drove home. I wasn't 2 steps out of my car when he approached me. "Let's hang out," he said. I tried to turn away, but then my life was sunshine and rainbows. I couldn't help but smile. Without bending his back, he leaned his face down to mine. We locked eyes. I can't remember what they looked like, but I remember what they made me feel, what they made me remember. I was a toddler in a swing set. I was smiling and laughing. Behind me, the tall man, Mikey, was the one smiling as he pushed me again and again. Then, it was my birthday. I watched as Mikey lit my candles. He sparked the lighter with his gray hands, his yellow nails longer than his fingers. On the baseball field, he was my coach. At school, he was my favorite teacher. I remembered me and Mikey sitting in the back seat of my car. There were butterflies in my chest. I leaned in and kissed his black, rotting lips. I felt disgust, but remembered love. "Let's hang out," he said. And then I was following him because he was my everything. He was every good thing I could remember. But no, I didn't know him. I imagined walking into his apartment. I smiled, then screamed. I wanted to run away, but I'd miss him so much. We walked to his door as my mind screamed for me to run. He was reaching for the knob when some animalistic part of my brain took hold of me. I ran to my apartment and locked the door behind me. When I heard a knock, I grabbed my phone and called the police. I told them there was a guy who kept knocking on my door and wouldn't stop, no matter how many times I told him to go away. I watched from my bedroom window as the officer pulled up. I took a peek through my peephole and saw that Mikey was still there. I sat next to the door and waited. "Tommy, what's going on, man? Long time no see. Let's hang out." "Of course, man. I really can't thank you enough for last time." I looked through the peephole to see them walking away. A door opened and closed. Then I heard screams. I called out of work the next day, and a couple of police officers came by. I told them the truth, minus all the weird stuff. They knocked on every apartment, but nothing ever came of it. I'm pretty sure I heard some happy laughter and sounds of reunion when they knocked on Mikey's door. It's been a week since then, and I haven't left my apartment. I got fired, and I'm starting to run out of food. I know I'll have to leave eventually, but what happens if I run into him? Hey friends, I've decided to keep sharing scary stories, and today I've got a really strange one I found on Reddit. I've heard a lot of creepy stories before, but this one really got to me, and I want to share it with you. My girlfriend has a strange new hobby, and I'm getting close to sounding the relationship's alarms and ending things. We've been together for 7 years. For 3, she attended nursing school while I lifted the financial burden to keep us going. Then she did the same for me while I furthered my education. We both work in the same hospital, though our shifts rarely overlap. We are financially stable and in great place emotionally until the last few weeks. Why am I telling you our background? For 2 reasons. First, I'm trying to convey that we are normal, responsible adults. We have been through everything together. And a relationship like this isn't thrown away because of a weird hobby that developed over the last few weeks, right? The second is to explain that the nature of our jobs is one that requires a deep desensitization to blood, gore, and things that the general public perceives as gross. This is important. Prior to 4 weeks ago, our life entered the monotonous but common synchronized schedule of an adult couple. We function like clockwork, aligning work, family, friends, meals, sleep, and exercise without a thought. There wasn't much change in our day-to-day events, but we liked it that way. 4 weeks ago, I came home from my shift at the hospital and expected to be greeted by the aroma of dinner on the stove, music playing, and a loving girlfriend. I didn't find any of that. I passed the threshold and found myself smelling and hearing nothing. I called for her, but got no response. I walked to our back door that overlooks our backyard and found her kneeling on the grass, facing away from me. "Babe, everything okay?" I asked, grass crunching under my shoes, an oddly satisfying feeling that I always enjoyed. No response. "Babe?" I reached out and touched her shoulder gently. Her head was facing down, back arched, staring at something she held in her hands. She appeared to be lost in a trance, awoken only by my touch. She looked up at me, tears in her eyes that made me melt. However, my eyes went to what was in her hands instantly. Cradled in her two opened hand was a relatively large crow, stiff with death, eyes staring forward, void of life. Across its chest, beginning below its head, reaching its belly, was an open gash that exposed the bird's intestines through a puddle of blood that pooled beyond my girlfriend's hands and onto our grass. "What?" I began, but she began sobbing. She explained that she had seen the injured bird through the kitchen window. It flapped around endlessly on the yard, and when she went to inspect, she saw a trail of blood and innards. She asked to keep the body in the bathtub, or our guest bathroom, so she could inspect the bird's anatomy. That's normal physician curiosity, right? I didn't think so, but I didn't say anything. This was the first of 5 different dead animals that are currently laying in my bathtub. They all have the same opening down their belly, and they're all stiff with death. 4 days after the crow, I came home to find her on our driveway, holding a dead squirrel. The following week, she ran into our house asking for help with a dead Yorkie puppy that she saw us get run over during her evening run. Days later, she walked into our house with a dead cat. And 4 nights ago, I came home to find her dragging the corpse of a large stray dog that I had seen sniffing around our trash cans. She looked deranged, unrecognizable even. Her face was blank, emotionless, as she dragged a 60-pound corpse through our sidewalk onto our driveway, leaving a trail of fresh blood behind her. Her hair was wild and messy, giving the image of a savage cave woman. I ran towards her screaming 100 different questions, but she simply said, "Put it in the bathtub with the others." I figured she is going through some emotional breakdown that's manifesting in a strange way. This isn't unheard of in hospitals, sure. Maybe I was being naive, but I chalked it up to something that can be fixed with a therapist. However, last night, I woke up in the middle of the night. The streetlight crept through our windows, just enough to illuminate the image that has been haunting me every second of my day. My girlfriend, the girl that I have built a life around, the future mother of my children, kneeled over me as I slept on my back. The light illuminated her soulless stare, only a few inches from my face. She ran her finger below my jaw, all the way down to my belly. Her fingernails slid slowly, feeling like ice on my skin. I was too frozen to move in that moment. She knelt over me for a few minutes and returned to sleep, rolling onto her side of the bed harshly. When I brought it up in the morning, she laughed and dismissed it as if it were the most ridiculous story she had ever heard. It was clearly a bad dream, she said. Maybe she's right. I don't know what to do. I don't even know who I am anymore. There's something inside me, and it's not mine. I can't sleep, can't think, can't even look at myself anymore. This isn't some cry for help. This isn't fiction. This is me leaving a record. Because if I lose everything, and God, am I fucking close, I need someone to know the truth because I should be dead. In some ways, I think I am. It started a year ago. I was 32, healthy, normal, working in a tire factory. The days were long, the hours sucked, but I was alive. I had someone who loved me. I had a little apartment. I had routines. I had a heartbeat until I didn't. Cardiac arrest, out of nowhere. No warning, no chest pain. Just lights out, face first between two massive OTR tires. My coworker said my lips were blue by the time they got to me. Paramedics shocked me 3 times on the floor. I flatlined. 6 minutes, no oxygen, no pulse. Then somehow, I came back. I remember flashes, needles, screaming, a nurse crying, the voice of a doctor saying he shouldn't be here. But I was. They said I was lucky, a miracle, 1 in a million. I didn't feel like a miracle. I felt wrong. Like something got rewired on the way back. I spent the next 9 months waiting for a donor. My heart was too damaged. They said it was like driving a totaled car. It might move, but eventually it'd fail. I lost everything in those 9 months. My girlfriend left me. It's funny how easily people you thought loved you will scatter the moment you can't provide them with anything. I wasn't sleeping very well anymore. My skin felt too tight. I'd jolt awake thinking my heart had stopped. Sometimes I wished it would. I prayed, and I'm not religious, but I prayed, not just for healing, but for anything. For it to end, one way or the other. Then one night, the phone rang. They had a match. A heart. Perfect fit, no complications. It was happening now. I remember being wheeled into the OR, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. The anesthesiologist smiled and said, "This is your second chance." He had no idea how wrong he was. I woke up in a nightmare. I was freezing, not shivering, not cold, freezing, like I'd been submerged in a lake in January. I was drenched in sweat, but my fingertips were blue. I couldn't stop shaking. My jaw locked so tight from chattering I cracked a molar. My chest ached, not from the incision, but from something cold behind my sternum. The nurse smiled. "It's the anesthesia," she said. "It'll pass." It didn't. It never did. Even now, I'm always cold. Doesn't matter the weather. Blankets, heaters, hot showers. It's like something inside me doesn't know how to hold heat. The cold lives in my bones, in my chest, in my heart. Then the dream started. Always the same. Fluorescent lights. A white tiled room that smells like bleach and meat. A chair bolted to the floor. Leather restraints. Rust-colored stains on the tiles. Someone strapped in. Male, female, young, old, it changes, but they're always gagged. Always wide-eyed. Always shaking. Then there's me. Not me now, but something in me. Watching. Smiling. There's no sound in the dream. Just this horrible hum, like electricity through concrete. The lights buzz. The air tastes like copper. In the dream, I'm always holding something. A scalpel. A pipe. A knife. A torch. I knew these were all tools used for nothing good. I don't remember using any of them, but I would wake up with the weight of the tools still in my hands. The worst part? I enjoy it. I wake up with my fists clenched, my breathing slow and steady like I've just finished a ritual. There's blood under my fingernails, sometimes wet, sometimes dried. There are no cuts on me, no wounds, just that metallic stink on my sheets and that taste in my mouth like burnt pennies. I tried everything: meds, therapy, journaling. My doctor said it was trauma. Psychosomatic cold sensitivity, he called it. Survivor's guilt, depression, PTSD, none of that explains the scar. Not the one across my chest. That was expected. This one was on the inside of my left forearm. A thin, healed X, pale, smooth, years old. It hadn't been there before the surgery. I know my body. Every mole, every freckle. That scar doesn't belong to me. That's when I went to an old friend of mine that works in medical billing for a hospital system. Has access to transplant data. I begged him to find the name of my donor. He said it was sealed, but a bottle of bourbon and a breakdown in his living room changed that. He pulled it up. I'll never forget the way his face changed, like he was watching something rot in real time. "Oh, shit," he whispered. "You're not going to want to know this, but I needed to." The name was redacted, but the notes weren't. Convicted murderer. Torture. 9 confirmed victims. All ages. He kept them in a basement. Soundproofed. White tiles. Fluorescent lights. Just like my dreams. They said he turned himself in. No remorse. Just walked into a police station and said, "My work is complete." He died on death row. No family to claim the body. However, he'd signed the organ donor form. Things got worse after that. I started blacking out. Awakening in alleys, stairwells, parking garages. Once in a supply closet with a box cutter in my hand and blood in the sink. I couldn't explain it. Couldn't prove it. Couldn't stop it. I started noticing the smells first. Bleach. Rust. Damp concrete. Following me like a shadow. Then came the urges. I'd sit in my car outside grocery stores, just watching people, their routines, their vulnerabilities. I'd imagine what they'd sound like if they screamed, what they'd look like begging. One night, I followed a woman for 7 blocks before I even realized what I was doing. I was 2 steps from her building when I came to, fists clenched so tight my nails left half moons in my palms. I ran, collapsed in the street, threw up in a gutter. I swore I'd never do it again. The next night, I dreamed of her face. I went back to the hospital, found the surgeon who did the transplant, told him I needed the heart out. He smiled like I was joking. "You're alive," he said. "That heart saved you." No, it replaced me. Then came the worst night. I woke up in my empty bathtub, fully clothed. There was a knife on the edge of the tub. My hands were bloody, my clothes soaked in blood. My mouth tasted like iron, blood all over the floor. The blood wasn't mine. No report. No missing person matching what I remembered. Maybe he's smarter now. Maybe he's learning through me. I haven't slept since. I don't think I can. He doesn't dream. He remembers. He relives. And now, so do I. Every scream, every second in that room, every flicker of the lights, I feel it. He's not a voice, not a hallucination. He's not possessing me. He's beating inside me. I tried to resist. I really did, but he doesn't ask permission. Last night, I picked up the knife again. This time, I didn't drop it. This time, my hands were steady. And for the first time in months, I wasn't cold. Not even a little. My dad spent 15 years tending to the tree in our backyard. I just cut it down, and I don't think it was a tree. I don't know where else to turn. I can't talk to my mom about this. She's already a wreck. I can't talk to my dad because, well, he's the reason I'm writing this. I did something, and I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was saving him. But now the house is filled with a silence that is so much worse than the screaming I wish I could hear. And I see the look in my father's eyes, and I know I've made a terrible, terrible mistake. I need help. I need someone to tell me what I need to do. We live in a nice house, the kind of place people move to when they want a family. A big yard, a picket fence, flower beds my mom fusses over. It was a normal, happy place to grow up, until the tree. It all started about 15 years ago, when I was 10. My dad came home from work one day absolutely buzzing with an energy I had rarely seen. He was a quiet man, a decent man, worked a steady job in logistics, and his passions were small and manageable. He loved gardening. It was his escape. On this day, he was holding a small, wrinkled paper bag. "Look at this," he said, his eyes shining as he showed me a single, gnarled black seed. It was the size of a pigeon's egg, strangely heavy and covered in faint spiral patterns. Got it from a street vendor downtown. An old fella said it was special, said it would grow into a great tree, a king in our yard, said it would cast its shadow over the whole house and protect us. I was 10. I thought it was cool. My dad was a sane, rational man, but he always got a bit poetic when he talked about his garden. I just figured he was exaggerating to make his only kid excited. We planted it together in the center of the backyard. It was a good memory. One of the last purely good ones, I think. The tree grew, and it grew fast. Faster than any tree has a right to grow. Within a couple of years, it was already taller than me. My dad was ecstatic. He tended to it like it was some kind of deity. He built a small, neat wooden fence around its base, not to keep animals out, but it seemed to designate its space as sacred. No one else was allowed to water it. No one else was allowed to prune it. Not that it ever seemed to need it. It was his. For years, my mom and I just accepted it. It was Dad's hobby, his thing. When he was out in the yard, kneeling by the tree, we knew that was his time. We didn't interfere. We didn't think much of it. But the tree kept growing. And as it grew, my dad started to change. Subtly, at first. He'd spend more and more time out there. He'd come in for dinner with dirt under his fingernails and a distant, peaceful look on his face. He started talking about the tree not as a plant, but as a presence. The tree is well today, he'd say. It enjoyed the rain. We just smile and nod. By the time I was in my early 20s, the tree was a monster. It was a species none of us recognized. Its bark was a smooth, dark gray, almost black, and its leaves were a deep, waxy green that seemed to drink the sunlight. It towered over our 2-story house, casting a vast, profound shadow over the entire backyard for most of the day. And that's when we really started to notice the wrongness. The first sign was the other plants. My mom's prize-winning roses, the vegetable patch, the cheerful little flowers she planted every spring. Anything that fell under the tree's shadow for more than a few hours a day would wither and die. The soil beneath it became barren, gray, and hard as rock. Then, the animals. Birds stopped nesting in our yard. The squirrels that used to chase each other across the lawn vanished. Even our family dog, a golden retriever, would refuse to go into the backyard. He'd stand at the back door, whining, his tail tucked between his legs, refusing to set a single paw in the shadow. But the worst change was in my father. His obsession became his entire existence. He quit his job. He said he needed to be home to attend to the tree. He'd spend all day, from sunrise to sunset, sitting on a small bench he'd built directly under its densest branches. He just sat there. Sometimes we'd see him from the kitchen window, his head tilted as if he were listening to something. Sometimes his lips would move, and we knew, with a certainty that made us sick, that he was talking to it. My mom and I tried to reach him. We pleaded. We begged. "Honey, please," my mom would say, her voice breaking. "Come inside. Eat something. You look so thin." He'd just shake his head, a slow, placid smile on his face. "I'm not hungry. The shadow is enough. It's so peaceful here. It comforts me. It can comfort you too if you just come and sit with me." We never did. There was something about that shadow. It wasn't just a lack of light. It wasn't just a lack of light. It felt cold. It felt heavy. It felt hungry. Standing at the edge of it felt like standing at the shore of a deep, dark ocean. You knew you shouldn't step in. The last weeks were the breaking point. He stopped coming inside at all, except to sleep in his chair in the living room for a few fitful hours. He was wasting away. His skin was pale and waxy. His eyes were sunken, but they held a serene, vacant glow that terrified me more than any anger could have. He was being consumed. The tree was eating him alive, and he was letting it. I decided I had to do something. I had to save him. The tree had to go. I waited until night. I watched through the window until he finally, reluctantly, came inside and slumped into his armchair, falling into his usual restless sleep. The house was silent. My mom was asleep upstairs. This was my chance. I grabbed the heavy wood-splitting axe from the garage. My hands were sweating, my heart pounding a frantic, terrified rhythm against my ribs. I stepped out the back door. The yard was bathed in the pale, ethereal light of a full moon, but the ground beneath the tree was a pit of absolute blackness. I stepped into the shadow. The cold was immediate, shocking. It wasn't a natural cold. It was a deep, draining cold that seemed to pull the warmth directly from my bones. I walked to the base of the tree. Its smooth, black bark felt strangely slick to the touch, almost like skin. I raised the axe. As the metal head touched the bark, I heard it. A whisper right beside my ear, a voice that was both male and female, old and young. It was a rustle of leaves and a sigh of wind and a voice all at once. "Don't." I stumbled back, my heart seizing in my chest. I looked around wildly. The yard was empty. I had to have imagined it. It was the wind. It was my own fear talking back to me. It had to be. I steeled myself, spat on my hands, and swung the axe with all my might. Thwack. The sound was dull, wet, not the sharp crack of axe on wood I was expecting. It felt like hitting a side of beef. The axe bit deep into the trunk. I wrenched it free, and a dark liquid, black in the moonlight, began to ooze from the gash. I ignored it. I swung again, and again, and again. I fell into a frantic, desperate rhythm, sweat pouring down my face, my muscles screaming. The wet, fleshy thud of the axe, the splatter of the dark sap, the deep, draining cold of the shadow, it was a nightmare. With every swing, the ooze from the gash flowed more freely. The coppery, metallic smell of it filled the air. It was a smell I knew, a smell that had no business being here. It was the smell of blood. I touched the sticky liquid with my fingers, brought them to my nose. It was blood. Thick, dark, real blood. Panic, stark and absolute, seized me. I wanted to run. I wanted to drop the axe and flee and never look back. But then I thought of my father, of his vacant, smiling face. of him wasting away on his bench. I couldn't stop. I had to finish it. I screamed, a raw, wordless sound of rage and fear, and I put everything I had into the last few swings. The gash widened, the tree groaned, a deep, shuddering sound that seemed to shake the very ground. And then, with a final tearing shriek of splintering matter, it fell. It crashed into the yard with a ground-shaking boom, its great branches shattering my mom's empty flower pots. Silence. The shadow was gone. I was panting, leaning on the axe, my body trembling with exhaustion and adrenaline. My eyes were drawn to the stump, to the place where I had cut it. I pulled the small flashlight from my back pocket and aimed the beam at the wound. The inside of the tree wasn't wood. It was a chaotic, fibrous mass of what looked like dark red muscle and pale, glistening sinew, all woven around a central, horrifying core. Where I had cut the tree in half, I had also cut it in half. Embedded in the center of the trunk, integrated into its very being, was the torso of a human being. I could see the curve of the rib cage, the shape of the spine, the pale, rubbery look of preserved flesh. I had cut it clean through. The dark blood was still pouring from it, soaking into the ground. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. My mind simply stopped. What was this? Who was this? Was this what my father had been talking to? Burn it. The voice came from behind me. It was quiet, raspy, and broken. I spun around, my flashlight beam cutting wildly through the darkness. My father was standing at the edge of the patio. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the fallen tree, at the mangled, bleeding stump. And the expression on his face is the most profound, gut-wrenching sadness I have ever witnessed. The vacant serenity was gone, replaced by a grief so deep it looked like it had cracked his very soul. "Dad?" I whispered. "We have to burn it," he repeated, his voice hollow. "All of it. Now." We worked together in a grim, silent ritual. We hacked the branches and the great trunk into manageable pieces. We dragged them into a pile in the center of the yard. My father moved like an old man, his newfound clarity costing him all his strength. He never once looked at the horrifying thing at the heart of the trunk. We doused the pile in gasoline, and my father threw the match. The fire went up with a roar, a greasy, black smoke that smelled of burning meat and something else, something acrid and deeply wrong. We stood there for hours, watching it burn until the great tree that had dominated our lives was nothing but a pile of glowing embers in a scorched black circle on the lawn. I thought I had saved him. I thought I had cut out the cancer that was killing him. But I was wrong. It's been a week. The tree is gone. The shadow is gone. My father, he's inside. He eats what my mom puts in front of him. He sleeps in his own bed. He's physically present, but he's not here. The obsession is gone, but the peace, twisted as it was, is gone too. It's been replaced by a constant humming anxiety. He paces the house. He stares out the window at the empty space in the yard. He jumps at every unexpected sound. He doesn't speak a single word since that night. He just looks at me sometimes with those haunted, broken eyes, and I feel like I'm the monster. I destroyed the thing that was consuming him, and in doing so, I seem to have destroyed him too. I traded a smiling zombie for a silent, terrified ghost. What was that thing? What did I do? And how do I fix my dad? Is there any way to bring him back from whatever edge I've pushed him over? Please, if anyone has any idea what happened here, tell me. The silence in this house is getting louder every day. This story made me think twice about ever picking up a call from a stranger. My sister died 2 years ago. Last night, she called and said I'm not alone. They say if you want to talk to the dead, you better be ready to listen. I never believed in any of that crap. Ghosts, spirits, signs from beyond. Just stories people made up to help them sleep at night. My sister Mia was one of those believers. She was obsessed with life after death. She even asked to be buried with a walkie-talkie, just in case. She died 2 years ago in a car crash. No warning, no goodbyes. One moment she was on the phone with me, complaining that she thought someone was following her. The next, just silence. They found her body 20 minutes later. I haven't been the same since. For a while, I stopped answering calls completely. Just hearing the ringtone made me nauseous. But tonight, something made me pick up. Blocked, flashed on my screen at 2:13 a.m. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. At first, all I heard was static. Faint, like an old radio caught between two stations. Then a voice broke through.
Alex?
My chest tightened. It was Mia. Her voice was shaky.
Alex, listen to me. You need to get out of there. Don't trust the people in the house.
I sat up so fast I almost dropped the phone. What the hell are you talking about? Mia? How are you even? They're not real. Her voice grew rougher, strained.
They're not who you think they are. I didn't want to call, but I had to warn you. You're in danger.
There's no one here, I said. I live alone. I didn't sleep. I spent the next hour pacing around my apartment, checking every window, every lock. I opened every drawer in the wardrobe. I even looked under the bed like a 5-year-old after a scary movie. Nothing. No one was there. Eventually, I chalked it all up to a sick prank. Or maybe a breakdown. Wouldn't be the first time my mind messed with me. Grief is a hell of a drug. Around 3:45 a.m., I went to the kitchen to pour myself a drink. Then I froze. There were 2 glasses in the sink. I'd only used one. Both were wet. I stared at them for a full minute, then backed out of the kitchen. That's when I heard it. A sound behind me. The creak of a floorboard in the hallway. I spun around. No one was there, but the guest room door was open. I never opened that door. Since Mia died, her things have stayed in there. Her clothes. Her books. The stuffed cat she'd had since she was 6. I always kept the room shut. Locked. Now it was slightly open. I should have left right then. Grabbed my keys and gotten the hell out. But I didn't. Instead, I stepped inside. The air was freezing. The curtains were swaying gently, though the window was shut. And on the bed sat her stuffed cat, sitting upright, facing the door. It was supposed to be in a box. I know it was in a box. Then my phone rang again. Blocked. I answered. This time her voice was barely a whisper. Urgent, terrified.
They're watching you. Don't let them know you're scared.
Who's watching me? I whispered. And then Mia said,
They're already inside.
I dropped the phone and ran. Locked myself in the bathroom. I was gasping for air, trying to calm my breathing, trying to be rational. But then, I heard the front door creak open. No footsteps, just presence. Like the air itself had thickened. I pressed my ear to the bathroom door. Nothing. Then something brushed against the other side. A whisper so soft I wasn't sure it was real.
Alex.
My name? In Mia's voice. But something was wrong. Too quiet. Drawn out. Then I remembered what she'd said on the phone. Don't trust the people in your house. But I live alone. That's when I looked up and saw something in the bathroom mirror. A reflection standing behind me. I spun around. Nothing there. I looked back at the mirror. Still there. A tall shape, standing perfectly still behind me in the reflection. No face. No eyes. Just a presence. And then it leaned closer. Its breath against the back of my neck. And whispered in a flawless imitation of Mia's voice.
I never died, Alex. I just came home.
I don't remember unlocking the door. I don't remember leaving the house. All I know is I ended up in my car. Half-dressed, barefoot, shaking so hard I nearly snapped the key trying to start the engine. I didn't go back until morning. In broad daylight. Neighbors walking their dogs. Kids riding bikes. Everything felt safe. I went back inside. Everything looked normal. Except for one thing. My phone. Still on the bathroom floor. It was open to my call history. Last call, MIA. No blocked. Just her name. Like she was still in my contacts. But I deleted her 2 years ago. I tapped the name. Her contact profile opened. The number was still saved. 911-666-0000. I didn't call it. I smashed the phone instead. I moved out. I'm staying in a hotel now. Bought a new phone. New number. Clean slate. But last night, the landline rang. I didn't even know the room had a phone. I picked up.
Alex?
It was her again.
You still don't get it. It's not the house.
Then she started to cry.
I tried to warn you. I tried.
What do you mean? I whispered. She sobbed harder, then choked out.
You brought it with you.
And the line went dead. I'm not posting this for sympathy. I'm posting it as a warning. If someone you love has died and they call you, don't answer. Even if they're crying. Even if it sounds like they need you. Because once you answer, they know how to find you.